Hey, Hardin County, it's October 1st, and I just wanted to give a report on the commissioners meeting today. Roger Crow was gone. I think he was gone for 2 weeks or so, and so this was his first day back. I know they said they're going to have a busy day on Thursday, so looking forward to some activity there. But they had a lot of catching up to do today, and so I'm going to run you through this. They approved the minutes from the September 26th. We had ditch maintenance. They promoted A. Kuhn for ERS2, not sure what that is, and then resigned E. Cox for the training officer. So it'll be interesting to see those documents. I don't see those documents until they're put in the journal, so that's why sometimes I'm unclear. They had the final hearing for the low ditch. They released some funds for JFS. They had some funds for traveling out of county. The sheriff had a couple things. They were asking about, per the ORC, getting poundage amounts off of the sheriff's sales being paid directly to the sheriffs. Tori went and asked about that. She came back and, it's different. There's different regulations, so it's not just an easy, yes, you get that money. It's going to take some more investigation than that. And they talked about the farm land lease for Jones Road because the zoning there went down, and so they had done the farm lease there for just 1 year because they were waiting on the rezoning and to sell that property, and so now they're looking at maybe doing a 3-year on that land, so that'll tie that land up for another 3 years. The dog warden is looking for a locking chemical storage. It's a fireproof kind of cabinet for the dog pound. Oh, the other thing about the sheriff was that they had taken $200,000 out of their budget last year, and the sheriff is asking for $125,000 of that to be brought back for salaries. So they're looking to get that added back in, or to appropriate it now. So it's kind of interesting if you take it out of your budget and then you just appropriate it later, how that works. So Sheriff Everhart is retiring December 31st, and then he will get his new appointment in January 6th. So I'm not sure. They're looking for an interim sheriff, which I think they talked about maybe appointing him as the interim sheriff. So I'm not sure what is going back and forth, but he's doing some retirement stuff there. They also talked about the maintenance when they did their walkthroughs and had maintenance to do, that Simon Kenton, Life Works, and the North Annex are all pretty much completed. The West Annex is getting their painting now. They had a thing on the so Roger was looking at the budget for the municipal court and had some concerns about it. They talked about the public defender, because that's still, how you're going to provide for your attorneys and your things in our county. If you remember, Brad Bailey and the judges are asking for kind of a $60,000 amount so that they can hire local people to be their attorneys, and you don't get OPERS, you don't get retirement or benefits, and you can have your own practice, but then you also have to put the cases in Hardin County first. And comparing that with buying into a public defender's group out of Lima, and you have to pay, I think they said like 17% would be our amount, and that comes out to $553,000. So I'm not sure how that all plays out, but Fred had a lot of questions about the benefits that we would actually receive from the public defender's office, and that compared to what we're paying for these additional people, because if they're local people, then they stay here, they work here, right? So the money kind of stays in the county. And one of the concerns is that if we're low man on the totem pole, we're not going to get the workers that we need anyways. And that what Santos said last time was that the public defender office is only going to work for 10 to 20% of their cases anyway. So it's not going to be a huge relief. So they're still talking back and forth on that kind of information. Oh, I didn't even mention, so that was all kind of throughout the day. The treasurer did come back down, talked a little bit more about the drop boxes that she had been in for that Thursday before. But I don't know how many people have been up to the treasurer's office. I went up there, I think I've been up there a couple times. They have kind of a high desk and plexiglass, and it's very open and cavernous in there. But they have this HVAC unit that's up, like hanging from the ceiling. They got great big ventilation tubes through there. And when that HVAC comes on, it's so loud, like you cannot hear anything. They can't, I think she said they can hear us, but we can't hear them. And it's just loud and it's cold in there. So just a very uncomfortable type of situation. So she was coming in, and she must have talked to him about it before, because they were asking about a quote. And so looking at trying to get that fixed, and something like a new system, or like enclosing it or something, because it is just getting to be a real hindrance in the office. So definitely a much needed support. Okay, we're back. So the other thing that came up was the prosecutor's opinion came through about, so the CATS transportation, the HHWP, is a private organization, and so there was some issues with trying to take the van from Hardin Hills and donate it to their facility. The prosecutor said no way, that you have to donate to another government entity. So I know somebody had brought up maybe they could do it through the CIC. I don't know. So I guess they do have the other van from the Hardin Hills that they're trying to get to the CATS, but it's proving to be a little bit difficult. So we talked about that. The other really interesting piece of information is Roger had talked to Jake McFadden on the fair board. So do you remember how we talked about the new buildings for the fairgrounds? They want to put 3 buildings up there by the merchants building up. It's kind of a hill right there. So it's going to have the best drainage and the best everything. And they are still working towards, it was going to be the $90,000 to put in the catch basins at the 4 corners of these 3 buildings. And then they were going to figure out a plan later on what goes in the buildings and all this sort of stuff. So they're still working on that. They have $500,000 that they want to give to the fair board for these buildings, because Rogers said that just like they own the courthouse and take care of it, they own all the buildings at the fairgrounds, and so they feel it's their responsibility to build these new buildings. So they have $500,000 of the ARPA money set aside. $90,000 of that will go to this drainage. And then they came back, they are doing some consulting with they had talked after the last, like during the fair, that they were going to consult somebody who does fair design. And so that's going to be, I think they came back with like $17,000 that they can spend on that. The problem is you're not going to get any buildings. You're not going to be able to allocate that money to the fair board without having proof that you're going to spend the money on it. And so basically Roger's saying that the fair board can go ahead and purchase the panels, like removable panels and bleachers and some of the interior stuff for those buildings with that $500,000, which will then shorten the costs that they have on the other end. That can get a little tricky, because if you get into the project and you change your mind or you can't do something, well, now you already have these removable pins. What if you are storing the pins somewhere and they get rusty? These pins are really expensive. You can spend $500,000 on these pins they all fold down and get moved aside. And the idea behind that is that they want to use, well, I don't know if the Fair Board wants to use it, but Roger Crow said that they were going to use those buildings for RV storage. So, you know, they want those rooms to be open and accessible for storage, I guess. Doesn't really help the economy outside of the fair. Doesn't help the bigger area of our towns. It doesn't bring in any shows, but that's all the information I've heard so far. So that's kind of the deal on the $500,000, which I feel like they sort of got agreement. I mean, they got maybe agreement with the 3 commissioners that they're going to use the $500,000 for the fair, and that was okay. How that's actually done, I'm not sure. I guess that's to be seen. The big news is that Roger is also asking, so the Fair Board meeting is Wednesday at 7 o'clock there at the community building if you want to attend, but they're asking for an additional $1 million, right? So they have the $500,000 that they're going to spend now by the end of the year, and then an additional $1 million over the next 2 years that the Fair Board is asking. We need a guarantee, we need a commitment from the commissioners that you're going to give us some more money for these buildings. And Roger is all for it, and he was very pressing to the other 2 commissioners that they needed a decision fairly quickly. Tim and Fred did not seem real excited to, you know, promise that money. So, you know, it'll be interesting. I plan on being there at the Fair Board meeting Wednesday to see if it's talked about. I don't know, but that's something that was kind of tabled. You know, right now they did not have a commitment, was the official decision, and we'll see how that goes. So and they want to take that $1 million out of the general fund. So whether we, you know, where you might have a levy, you know, we have the Simon Kenton levy where they're asking a certain amount of money where we get to vote on whether we want to support that or not. This would be a straight commissioner's decision and just comes right out of the general fund. So, you know, puts it a little bit in perspective when we just lost our nursing home and we have other infrastructure. I mean, if they have too much, you know, you have more than $1 million that's just sitting around that you need to be used. I know a couple villages that could benefit greatly from that. So anyways, that's kind of what happened today. Stay tuned for more information. Okay.